In a previous video, I showed you this filtration setup, but in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to backwash this filter right here, which is like a 10,000 gallon Ultima filter, Ultima 2 filter, which you can see on that label there. Well, technically this is an Aquadyne filter, but the parts that I had on the inside and everything were broken, so I just took out the mechanics and put it in here, which basically makes it the same thing since I already had it in place. To backwash this filter, it is fairly simple. It's just a matter of turning this valve a couple times and using this air blower. I do recommend, if you do have a bead filter like this, to install an air blower, just because over time the beads inside do kind of clump together. Well, that also depends on how often you backwash it. So this particular filter has the air blower already built into it, which is different from most of the other filters like the Ultima 2 filters, some Pentair filters and stuff. That's the only difference. This filter, when you buy it, it does come with that whole setup. If you are gonna just get like an Ultima 2 filter which doesn't have this, what you'll need to do to set up this air blower is basically on your where the water's coming in from the pump. So basically the intake to the filter, you will install a T right here, like so, just a whatever size plumbing you have, and then on top of that you'll put a ball valve, and then on top of that you'll stick your air blower. So that's the only difference pretty much that you'll be doing when you set up your filtration for an air blower. But to backwash it, the first step you want to do is turn off your pump. So my pump is right there. It'd be nice if I had like switches, which would make it easier, but that's extra work and I'm not going to bother with that. So I have it under here. Got to unplug this thing with my teeth, or not. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand, but now that I got the pump unplugged, what I'll do is switch this handle to backwash, just as the first step. And also, if you do have a valve on the backwash area, you want to open that up. This valve is put here just because the gasket in here over time does, how do you say, stop doing its job properly, or you will have to replace it because it moves out of place and stuff, and then it starts leaking. So this just allows you an extra shut off so you don't drain your pond all of a sudden without knowing, because it leaks from here. So after you have it to backwash, you want to plug it in for like 30 seconds just to get, because inside how it's designed, it has kind of this grid underneath, and the water will shoot out in different directions, and that just stirs it all up. So after you put it to backwash, you just want to plug that in. If I can do this with one hand. Just for like 30 seconds, and you'll be able to hear the beads kind of moving because it's turning it around depending on how clumped it is up in there. So after you have it running for 30 seconds on backwash, you'll just unplug it again, like so. So after putting it on backwash at the beginning, you want to hook up your air blower, which is right here. I also have a valve right here that I turn off, for I close this off because you never know if the air is going to be coming out through here. You can lose your prime over there, which happened to me once, and then you have to fill it all up, which is fairly simple as long as it's set up properly. But after you have it on backwash, you want to go to your air pump and turn this on, and then open your valve right here. It'll be hard to hear me, but the media or this air blower will basically stir up all the media in there, because it's doing like 1 horsepower, 1.5 horsepower of air into here, which basically stirs it up. It's kind of a process of turning it on and off to basically stir it up. So it's like maybe 3 times of 30-second intervals of turning this on and off. That wasn't 30 seconds, but you get the point. You let it stir for 30 seconds, then turn it off. That way the process of turning it off and turning it on allows for more vigoration than just leaving it on for, say, 1.5 minutes. So after you do this for 3 times, what you can do as well is close this back off, and then what we'll do is come over here and open this guy again, and then we'll plug in our pump. It's still on backwash, so there's like really no set way to do this. You can do it different ways, Most of the time I just go back and forth between backwash and rinse using this air blower, just so because you just want to stir everything up inside this giant canister right here. So now that we have the pump open again, it's still on backwash, this closed, I'll plug the pump back in. So now it's filling up again, and now that there's water running in here, what I'll do again is also still turn on this air blower. But make sure you open this valve after you turn it on, because if you open this valve first, the water will come up. Well, not really, since I have a check valve here. Depends on how it's set up, but the water could come up and damage your air blower. So you first want to basically turn that guy on and then open this valve. Then same thing when you turn this guy off, if you have the pump on, is you want to close this guy first and then switch this off. So now that this guy is off, what we'll do again is turn off the pump. So now that the pump is off, we'll turn this valve or thing to rinse. You always want to do this when it's off, because of the reason that when the pump is running and going through here, it can destroy the gasket that's inside here faster than if you're just doing it on and off kind of thing. So now that we have that to rinse, what we'll do is we'll plug the pump back in here for like 30 seconds. And there is like this kind of a viewing glass you can base your backwashing on, because it should become green and so forth when you're doing stuff, depending on how much waste is actually in this thing. And if this thing is not turning green for you, which it doesn't for mine, then it's no big deal. Just judge it by time and stuff like that, and you sort of backwashing and doing that stuff is beneficial. When I do reset this part up, I will put a clear piece of PVC somewhere along this line, just so I can see how much gunk and how much dirty water is going through there, just because this guy doesn't do anything. And still, even if this guy worked, I still would do that, since it is a little clearer to see than just this little thing right here. Just another thing I will do when I set it up properly. I haven't set it up yet so how I want it, because I'm waiting to see if I do install another filter, then I might have to do it a little different. But that's the only reason why I haven't done it yet, just in case I do install 2 filters to this pond. So now it's on rinse and the pump is on, and this is basically just filling up more water and kind of rinsing out what's inside. We'll do that for a little bit. And then if you wanted to, after you do the rinse for like 30 seconds or until that viewing glass is clear again, and you want to actually drain more water, what I do is I just unplug this guy again. I turn it to backwash. And then I'll just plug it in so that it just breaks up the beads even more. It's kind of hard. Okay, we got that plugged in. And typically when you do a water change, it's like 20%, but then again, that depends on what's testing in your water, how much ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate is in there. Also, what's the pH. And when you do backwash it, if you do have an external pump, it is nice to, well, drain the strainer right here, or the priming pot is basically right here. There's a basket, and especially around now, there's a lot of leaves in my pond, so when you do a water change, it's good to just open this up, empty out the basket, and then so forth. If you do have valves, it's nice because you can turn these off. That way, if your check valve gets clogged, which is down along there, the water will stay in the piping and you don't have to reprime the pot. But that's also one thing you want to do if you do have an external pump, which you typically do when you have one of these guys. Something else just to do, which is beneficial. Then when you're done draining water and all that, you just turn it back to filtration. You want to close this valve again, just in case there's water coming out there, which usually happens over time, and then you're pretty much all set. So just to go over pretty much the steps of how it's done, basically what you first do is you turn off your pump, then you'll turn this guy to backwash for like 30 seconds to a minute. After that, you turn the pump off. If you do have a valve there, you want to close that, and then you'll turn on the air blower onto here for 3 parts of 30-second intervals, which will stir it up. After you do that, you can keep it on backwash. You'll close this valve, make sure this valve is closed. Then you'll turn on the pump again. Now water's circulating through there on the backwash. Then you can turn on the air blower, which will circulate it even more. After you do that, for 30 seconds. You'll turn off the air blower, then turn off the pump, switch it to rinse for like 30 seconds, and then you'll go back to backwash, and then you'll drain how much water, how much water you want to do. So it's fairly simple, and it should take like no more than 5 minutes. Again, it depends on how many gallons your pond is and how much water you're draining. If you want to drain more, then it will take longer. You'll just have to wait. But how I basically, so this is not entirely done being set up. I want to create a manifold which will allow me to have different valves so I can direct where the water is going, because right now I'll show you where it's going. Right now it's going out there to where all my trees are, but I do want to have different valves here which will have water come to these areas. So basically what I'll do is I'll have a pipe running down through here. This will be full of plants which will be connected to that area with a valve. It will be labeled, and if I want to water this area, or when I do a water change, I'll just turn that valve and I can get water in here. Same with on this side. I want to do the same thing. Put a pipe going through here and out over there with a valve, and then I can water these plants. That way these plants are getting nutrients from the fish, and the water that I'm taking out is being used. Right now it is being used. I'll show you where it is going. So right now I have the backwash of the filter set up to come out over here. It will still be set up to come out of here, because not all the water is going to be able to go in those two areas I just showed you, since that'll be too much water. But now it goes out through here, connects over to here, which is also connected to my washing machine. So there's a check valve over here that will prevent the water, or basically two check valves to prevent the water from going back up into the house. But that's basically the gray water system from my washing machine. So the filter connects over here, goes over here along there, and to these two valves here, which just directs to where it's basically going. So one area will go to the trees over there, or the two trees over here. I think three actually, there's one all the way down there. And then the other area goes along here to the trees that I have over here. I kind of lost the leaves right now since it's colder. And then I have in these pipes, or on these pipes, basically these valves where I can direct, or how much water is going out. Well, they're pretty much all open now, since the amount of water that comes out is a good amount. And then I'm basically using the water from the pond and from the washing machine to water these plants all along here to this apple tree, which makes it nice. One way to reuse the water. So the reason for backwashing is because the fish will produce waste, and it builds up, and if you don't change water, it builds up too much, which causes issue to them. And also you backwash this filter, or this particular filter, because of the factor that that median side with all the fish waste and gunk will just clump up, and then it won't be able to do its job anymore to create like anaerobic activity. So it's important to backwash this. How often, as I did mention, is typically like once a week if you wanted to, just a small thing, or once a month, like a bigger water change. But then again, that depends on how much fish you have, how much you're feeding them, and so forth. If I was all over the place through this video, I will post, or in the description, I'll do like a step-by-step process. It might not be the same as I mentioned in the video, but it's the same concept, because it basically does the same thing. So we'll see from there. But if you do have any questions or comments, remember to leave them below, and I will get to those when I can. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I appreciate the support. And if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe, so I can make some more videos like this. Thank you for watching.